Meeting to order, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew,
Here.
Mr. Kramer,
Here.
Mr. Menegini,
Here.
Mr. Moraro, Mr. Pop.
Here.
Move on.
I make a motion, we excuse Mr. Moraro.
Thank you.
Support.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. Move on to approval of the agenda. I have a motion on the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda. Support.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 17th, 2021.
I make the motion, we approve the regular meeting of May 17, 2021. Support.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Special meeting, May 19th, 2021.
I make a motion, we approve special meeting of May 19th, 2021. Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
May 26th, am I at?
Yes.
All right, meeting of May 26th, 2021.
I make a motion, we approve special meeting of May 26, 2021. Support.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. Special meeting of June 3rd, 2021.
I make a motion, we approve special meeting of June 3rd, 2021. Support.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Move on to approval of manifest 2021-11. Scott, you have any questions?
I have nothing right now.
Brett,
I have none.
Rico? I have none. Do I have a motion on manifest 2021-11?
I make a motion, we approve manifest 2021-11 amount of $572,437.38. Support.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Do we have any questions on previous?
I have no questions that were unanswered from previous.
Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on any agenda item only shall do so now at the podium. Anyone on Zoom must use the chat feature, submit your question and comment, and it will be read out loud by one of the members of staff. In either case, state your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I need a motion to go into a public hearing.
I make a motion, we go into public hearing. Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So each year, following our budget hearing, we hold a public hearing on the year. As in the past, we have a 5-year budget, but the first year, or the main portion is the fiscal year for 21-22, starting July 1 and ending in June 30th the following year. But we do show 5 years through 25-26. As in the past, budget is pretty consistent. A couple things I want to note on the budget. Again, our largest fund by both revenue and expense is the electric fund at roughly 30%. of the total. The general fund is second at 24%. The again, the budget is balanced, and we do have a number of initiatives through this budget. A number in the, of course, each fund. We have the utility funds, which have their own revenue expense feature. The general fund has your main revenue, but it has separate expense items, your DPW, your police, fire, and administration, and also refuse collection. So some highlights for this year. We are programmed to purchase the garbage truck, a new garbage truck for this year. As we pointed out in the budget hearings, the current garbage truck is starting to nickel and dime us quite a bit. Most garbage trucks are rolled out between 7 and 8 years, and we are at 7 years since we purchased our last truck. So we're right on schedule. We put money aside for that, so that money is appropriated. And we went through the electric department. We have the asset management program in the utilities, and as far as the electric goes, we do have some projects at both at the hydro and uptown. As you can see, we've already started with Viking Lane. We also are going to continue working south from District 5, so we're going to continue that project. In the water and sewer, again, we have the 5 and 20 plan from the asset management plans. In those programs, we don't have a lot of work that we're programming, but in the water, we are going to program some costs in both the meter replacements and also in the lead copper issue, working on some services. We have to address 2% of our services each year for the EGLE requirement. On the sewer side, we have some work at the plant, and we're going to try and program in some separation in some of the neighborhoods. We're not quite sure yet exactly which ones, but that's going to be something that we'll have to address as we go. We do have some monies appropriated for that work, and it's mainly going to be in-house, so it's not going to be a major effort. We did talk about in the major and local street. We have 2 projects that are planned for the 21-22 year, finishing up on Lower Pine Creek Road. That project is scheduled to hit the bidding this winter through, again, that's through the MDOT federal task force, and they actually handle the bidding through that program. The other is for the Main Street resurfacing, and that again is through the federal task force. And both of those projects should be bid this winter with construction start early next year. We talked about trying to program in some local roads, so I did get some, we're in the process of getting some costs. We talked about a couple of the major priorities would be Hillcrest Drive, which goes up the hill. That's one of our worst, and maybe an extension off of 11th Avenue where we had stopped a few years back on our industrial project, continuing that towards Belgium Town Road. We've got a couple other smaller segments that we're looking at pricing, but I'll get those to you when they come in. So that's a major portion of our budget. Again, the showing the handout, the summary on the budget. Get to that page here. So we're looking at a total budget of the projected proposed of $12,553,000, $12,553,155 in revenue, and expense $12,493,708. So again, we show positive on the estimated actual. We're coming in at $14,836,000 on the revenue, with $14,508,000 on the expense. So again, we are positive on both the revenue and expense. I can take any specific questions you might have.
Does anybody have any questions? Does the public have any questions? I need a motion to go back into regular session.
I make motion to go back in regular session. Support.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. Appointments and presentation, resignation, City of Norway Planning Commission, DDA resignation, Mary Skog.
So unfortunately, we did receive Mary's, or Ms. Scogg's, letter of resignation from both the Planning Commission and the DDA. She's been a tremendous asset on both boards. Appreciated her participation and comments, and will be sorely missed. So this point, the council needs to accept her letter of resignation, and we're gonna have to advertise for those seats.
Mary, thank you so much for all the time that you put in. I got to serve on the DDA with you, and you're really great asset, and we're sorry to lose you.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. It's been a definite asset there to both organizations.
Thank you for everything you've done. Everything you've done has came to heart. Can I ask you why? Is it just too busy with taxes? Just
I just feel that, my time is better with elsewhere.
Do I have a motion to accept Mary's resignation?
I make a motion, we accept Mary's resignation for the planning commission in downtown Bell.
Support.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
We'll move on to communications, 2021 resolution 2021-12 marijuana business application consideration policy.
So this is something that we put together, includes the application and the rubric. It also, the resolution is mainly the procedures that we use in working on the process that's accepting the applications. And also, again, it talks about the rubric. So this is something that the City Attorney Carlson has worked very hard on. He's taken the lead on this effort, and so I guess I can turn it over to him for any specific comment.
Thank you, City Manager Anderson. This is back before the council after this was tabled at the last meeting. As we've met and discussed a number of different times, there's a number of processes involved in getting to the point of accepting applications, including internal documents creation, the process, how it works, how we will proceed internally, the process for review, the process for scoring, et cetera, et cetera. And this resolution includes, we title it the marijuana business consideration policy, helps guide city staff and personnel with a step-by-step, and frankly, people that will be applying, helps them provide insight as to how we wish to administer this process, how we wish to, and give some guidance. So it's not just a blind process, and that when people want to apply for a license, that they have some guidance and some review, so they know where we're coming from as a council and as a city. So we put this together with an eye towards helping to streamline this entire process, giving the staff and the selection or the scoring committee some direction on how this works moving forward. In addition to the policy itself, it goes through and talks about the review criteria, the process for the scoring, for review of the scoring, and the ultimate granting of applications, as well as tiebreakers, how that would be set, et cetera. So it's really just kind of the meat and potatoes of how we would anticipate moving forward. It likely will not be a be-all, end-all. There will likely be changes because it just seems like this area is ever changing on a daily basis. You saw an updated document from me today with just some clarifications and some language changes based upon some lawsuits got state. So this is ever evolving, and I would anticipate it will continue to evolve now and into the future, from the time of applications all the way to time of implementation. So trying to do the best we can with trying to, I guess I'd say putting a saddle on a bucking bronco, because that's how it's been described to me a few times, almost like the Wild West with this process. And so trying to just give some guidance to staff as we move forward with this. Additionally, within the, and referencing the policy, is also a scoring rubric based upon input from the council on how licenses would be issued. The council decided and determined to go with a competitive process. And so this scoring rubric will be utilized for the application process for individuals that want a license. They will fill out the applications that are also included within the packet and present it to the scoring committee. The scoring committee will do their level best to score all of the applications. My understanding from chatting with other municipalities, we can anticipate a number of applications, and we also can anticipate the applications being anywhere from 6 to 12 inches thick of documentation to go through. But that being said, a lot of it is paperwork with information of the proposed business and what they can provide to the community in this sense, and what they will bring if granted a license. So the scoring rubric is included as well. And that is what will be utilized for determining licensing. And is the extent of the policy packet.
Any questions or comments? Right, at this time, I'm not gonna be for this application consideration policy because I think we gotta go back and look at the ordinance for the grows. I don't know if the rest of the council feels the same way, but putting that out there.
I myself don't want to see the grills in Norway. I'm very disappointed when we first started this. You know, it was, I looked at the city for, you know, for money benefactor, but when I'm going to a restaurant in Iron Mountain, not gonna name the name, go there with the family and we have the windows rolled down and we're getting sick because there's a grill operation right behind the restaurant. I thought, okay, this is one time thing, we've gone again. And the same thing, I don't want our citizens to have to deal with that on a daily basis.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion?
I guess just for purposes of proceeding, I don't know how this might end up voting. We've already tabled it once. So perhaps if somebody, if it could die at this time for consideration, and Mr. Anderson and I can chat with council to determine, or maybe the council can give some direction if that's how it wishes to proceed. The ordinance included licensing for to grow operations that was recently passed. So if we wish to amend the ordinance, Mr. Anderson and I would need some guidance depending on where council wants to go, and we can bring it back before the council at the next meeting to amend that ordinance.
I'll make a motion that the resolution 2021-12 not be approved.
Support. See that be changed.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Minigini.
Yes.
You know, I'd like to say thank you to the council, Mr. Carlson, Mr. Anderson, for all the work that you've done with this. Really looking more into it. I don't think it's worth all the stress that we're gonna get out of that. The growth, the sale, you know, they're not cropping it in our city, you know, it's growing somewhere else. That's a little bit different story, but the grow, I don't agree with it.
We'll move on to resolution 2021-14, general utility service rate resolution. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. As per our work sessions or budget hearings, when we go through or went through all of the different funds, we also have to discuss the rates and for this coming up year. There were two areas that the council felt that we needed to modify for this year. On the water and sewer, on the ready to serve or meter charge, the flat rate fee, we'll ask to increase on both water and sewer from $25 to $28. And then on the internet, we talked about modifying or revising our internet packages. And we need to stay current with industry standard. And right now we have 5 packages, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100. And we really need to increase that. We actually can go up to 1 gig. So we are modifying our packages to 30, 100, 250, 500, and 1 gig. The 30 meg package will be at $50 per month, and the 100 meg package will actually decrease to $75 per month. The 250 will be at $125, the 500 will be at $150, and the 1 gig is at $175. We did quite a bit of work at seeing what the basically what the industry was, how they were handling that, and I think that that's a good transition for us. So then also our bundle packages will be modified accordingly. Outside of that, those are the only changes we had in our operating fee structure. No changes to electric rates or our garbage rates.
Do you have any questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that resolution 2021-14, general utility and service rate resolution for fiscal year 21-22 be approved. Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Move on to approval special events application, Dickinson Iron District Health Department. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, this is an event that's been happening. I think they said it was the 5th year they were having this event. It's a walk around Strawberry Lake. And so it's the Dickinson Iron District Health Department, and they're asking to use, to be able to walk on the path.
And they do this every year.
Except last year with the COVID.
Oh, they did it. Is there any questions? If not, I need a motion.
I make a motion we approve the special events application by Dickinson Iron District Health Department.
Support.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. Move on to Water Department, proposal engineering service well site.
And so we discussed through our recent asset management program that we were required to investigate and potentially move forward with an alternate well site. It's a redundancy issue that Eagle has put down in front of us. Received 2 quotes for doing this preliminary engineering design and for this well site exploration. And Coleman Engineering has a low responsive quote for $18,000.
With the big, Ray, we ask you this all the time, with the big difference there, is there something that's being left out?
I don't believe so. They have the same information.
Okay.
Price it on.
Because that's, that's a pretty big difference.
Have a motion.
I'll move that Coleman Engineering be approved to provide preliminary design engineering services for the Oak Crest Drive well exploration project for a price not to exceed $18,000.
Support.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Request to purchase city-owned property, Tom Hines, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Hines lives up off of Summit Road, and he has asked for council consideration to purchase it's a 0.2 acre piece that's right behind his house. really butts up against the mine pit. And you can see, I gave you the procedures for when someone has requests to purchase property, and ask the council if they would be they're okay with proceeding, moving towards reviewing to sell that small section.
So tonight would just be approval to review it, not to accept it.
Correct. Getting more information and so on and so forth. As you can see though, he does have a survey that he actually went forward himself and had performed. So, but we do need to evaluate the cost and everything.
Any questions? Now I need a motion.
Make a motion that we accept Tom Hines' request on the purchase city-owned property. Review, sorry.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Minigini.
Yes.
Request to purchase city-owned property, Jared Genren.
So this is another request that was brought to my attention. Did a little bit more work on this one because it is a commercial property. It is something that is near Mr. Genren's operation over at Redline. So I did do an evaluation of, I had a number of appraisals that we were working on some other pieces. So he had given a price, we talked about it. It's actually appraised, they appraised it at 8,000. He's requesting 4,000 on the property. Again, the B council is okay with moving forward with continuing discussion, or your choice. How you want to move forward with this. This is a property that he's talking about.
Make it into a parking lot.
Excuse me?
Make it into a parking lot.
Yeah, he did that at one time, talk about a building, but he didn't specify that he was actually going to put another building up. Plus, it appears he needs a little more room to operate. But this is a property that the city is going to be taking and using that sand out at the multi-use field.
So there would definitely have to be further conversation with Mr. Jenner if that did happen, correct? Taking the sand out of there.
Yeah, so I've already told sand out and we own it. Yeah, we're gonna take, and that really, whoever would buy that or the city would sell it to somebody else. I mean, it would benefit them to have the sand
Removed anyways.
Yeah, because it needs to be leveled up, cleared out.
Okay.
I have a motion.
I make a motion that the request to purchase city-owned property by Jared Jenner and be reviewed, be approved.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Minigini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Ordinance 444, amendment of the city of Norway zoning code.
Okay, so, planning commission did hold public hearing. We had a couple of changes that I know we just revised our zoning code to reflect now going on our own as opposed to Norway area. We did that a few months ago, but I think with any kind of major ordinance, there's usually what we typically term a fix-it that comes in play. And so you notice a few things that you revise shortly after it gets into play. A couple is on the definitions. We didn't have anything to address short-term rental. Short-term rental is, it's not a bed and breakfast, so to speak, or a motel. This is more of what you see on Airbnb or Vrbo. We didn't have anything in the ordinance that actually, no definition that even addressed short-term rental. So that's one that we put in. We did revise the bed and breakfast definition, so that's also something that we got a bit more updated language. And then as far as the zoning districts, we did have the marijuana on conditional use, which dealt with additional public hearings, and that's basically you're saying that they were permitted to be in these zoning districts, and so really should have those in the permitted use. That's very common in the other communities, and so we did move that. Now, the recommendation that was heard earlier today was that we not include the grow. So that would have to change that section of the ordinance that for permitted use, where we would have to take that out of permitted use for that for industrial and agricultural.
So should we wait on this?
So the recommendation is that this should be tabled unless I think we should hold off on this one.
I was gonna suggest the same based upon prior council comments.
But we are going to have to redo the public hearings, because when you redo the ordinance for the marijuana, they're going to have to redo a public hearing. So on this one, we'll have to, because we amended it, this public hearing would have to be brought again. Yeah.
Do I have a motion to table this?
What date? Table till when?
Should I postpone it?
Table it till next Monday, or the next meeting. I'll have a better idea where we're at with
Okay.
everything. With Mr. Anderson, or
I would just recommend that when you have the public hearing for the ordinance, you could also have the public hearing for for making that change. I mean, council has a right to make that change. So we could run it in parallel. That would be my recommendation.
well, based on comments from council, as they've continued to do their due diligence and just kind of, as I've made the comment, things are constantly changing. And as additional information has come to light, it sounds like there's been a difference of opinion and some changes that have been made. And this is a licensing process. We've been very open that you can do that. Try to be consistent, try to make that decision, but things change and additional information happens and comes forward. So I think it makes most sense to have another public hearing and address those issues all at once, for all those reasons referenced.
So from a zoning standpoint, it's very straightforward. I mean, if you're not allowing the activity in town, then you can't have it in any zoning district. So it's not permitted. So it's just basically eliminated. So it's a very simple, straightforward adjustment.
Running the public hearing and the motion, right, currently, it's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I just, definitely table it to the 20 meeting, of June, so that they can get corrected or changed.
21st.
I'm sorry, 21st.
So should we just vote this down tonight? Wouldn't that be the easy way, just in case something comes up and we don't put it on the 20th? Yeah,
That's
that's
option number
that's what I would do.
I make a motion that ordinance 444 not be approved.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Approval electric department battery hydraulic press. Mr. Anderson.
This is a request from the electric department. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Hakey, who's with us this evening.
So we have one of these right now, a little different style, with the same principle. What it does is it replaces the hand press. It's like a press that you operate like a full chopper. This replaces that. It's just hit a button now. You're not trying to swing your arms in between phases. So it's a lot more safe, a lot easier on the guy's shoulders. And the other big thing is it's an actual 6-ton connection versus just doing it by hand where you don't want to know. Easy putting out this solid connection. So they're all around.
You have to send this in for calibration every so often, or no?
No, the way that it works, it just runs a little electric motor and it runs a hydraulic pump. That pump will, over time, start to not work. The last one took like 6-7 years. Then you send it in, it's like $200 to get it repaired. That's when that pump starts to fail, that's when you know that it's not
calibration.
Yeah.
But you can still use this one.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a motion.
I make a motion that the battery hydraulic press purchase from Irby be approved for a price not to exceed $1,950.
Support?
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
No.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Approval of low-income energy assistance program.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, some housekeeping on this program. This is a program that was implemented a number of years ago, actually, in 2013, under Governor Snyder. He signed it into public law. This is a program that it's assistance through your electric utilities on a per meter basis for low-income heating assistance. So under this program, I think we've talked about it each year. The advantage of being able to, if you opt into the program, you apply a per meter. It's usually anywhere from 91 cents to 99 cents per meter. Something that each customer that pays, and we send to Lansing for the program. A couple of byproducts of this. One is that we can, if we opt in, still deal with the customers for shutting them off if they're not paying their utility bills. If we opt out, then we cannot shut them off between November 1st and April 1st. Secondly, under this program, the LIHEAP funding, the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program funding, can only be issued to customers needing assistance in opt-in communities. And so We Energies is an opt-out community or opt-out utility, and City of Crystal Falls is also opts in. I did give you a chart of who opts in on the municipal side, who opts out. So we typically, our assistance runs through a combination with Dickinson and Iron. So we would be the only two in the area that would, our customers would be able to use these funds. So we have suggested or recommended, I mean, it's up to council, but we have opted in each of the years that it's been available or out. And it's something that we have to actually tell the state by July 1st. We have to make that decision by July 1st.
Is it a benefit to our community?
Well, the benefit is that we can deal with our customers who are not getting radio silence between November 1st and April 1st.
And I mean, do we utilize it as it has been in the past, or?
I do have, I have a call in. I'm trying to find out if we can actually get a report to show specifically in our area if those funds are being distributed. That's not as easy as we might think that they send us that report.
And that's kind of exactly what I was alluding or getting to is,
Yeah.
If we're paying in so much per meter and nobody in our community is utilizing this program, then why are we doing it?
Well, so we can
Yeah.
deal with them instead of not hearing from them. True. For 4 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's why it always did pass,
Yeah.
because of that sole reason.
Yeah, but I definitely want to find out. I'm not 100% confident I'm going to get that answer, just because they really don't have to give it to us. I'm not even sure if they capture that, because
How many years have we been doing this?
since 2013.
I make a motion that the city of Norway opt in on the PA 95 low income energy assistance program and collect the necessary funds from our customers.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes. I will say though, I asked Jeff Forbes to help me with that issue of finding out, because I think that's important.
Absolutely.
We've been doing it a number of years, and we should find out.
See if our community is being able to utilize that program.
Not only that, knowing how sometimes the state programs run, sure they don't issue those funds out to whoever and not care about which utility they're actually from.
Absolutely.
So they're not like to the energy customers.
Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. Anyone on Zoom must use the chat feature, submit your question and comment, and it will be read out loud by one of the members of staff. In either case, state your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person.
Hi, my name is Levi Danielson, address 206 Brown Street. So I wanted to address the council on the fact that you are turned down. So based on this.
Some of it's based on that. For me, anyway, I can't talk for everybody else.
So there are ordinances in place through the state that is not. Fines associated with such.
And there's ways around that they can get without paying the fines. I've talked to them. It's not that easy. There's too many laws and there's too many different things, that there's too many loopholes for everything.
So if you don't want them in town, by restaurants, what about the rural production or agriculture? Where they spend a portion of everywhere, it's not the same things. What is the problem with the industry in town?
I just basically said I want to look further into it. I'm not going to say yes or no. I just want to look further into it.
And there might be others we still want.
Yes.
We want to relook at the ordinance. That was just one issue that I brought up.
And Levi, just from a legal perspective, as you know, it sounds like you've read up on it, you're at least familiar with some of the laws. One of the difficulties is, and that my colleagues across the state have, is how do you measure a noxious smell? Some people think it smells colorful and in a nice way, in a good way. Some people, Councilman Pop referenced the smell of it causing his family to have an adverse reaction. So it's somewhat difficult at times to try, if there is a smell, it's like, well, a lot of times we hear a comparison to the paper mill, or as you made the comment, comparison to manure. To some people, it smells fine and it smells good. Some people, it smells horrible. That's one of the difficulties that municipalities have been having, is trying to address if there are smells, how to address that, how to enforce it, what to do, how to do it thereafter. Becomes a slippery slope. It's difficult to do. But I know that there's been some discussions throughout the state on how to address it. I also realize that working with a lot of municipalities and companies that are addressing these issues, they have, if they care about the community and care about the community that they're in, they should make every effort. And sometimes they tell communities that what they're going to do, but then don't follow through with it. So it's a slippery slope. It's a difficult process, but I think this council and the community try to do the best they can. We're trying to look at all angles and move forward and walk that line and try to do what's best for the community.
There are ways to set up the facility so that there is no smoke. There are plenty of places in Norway that's been grown already. So, on our side, as growers.
Thank you. We appreciate your
Thanks, Levi.
comments.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else? If not, we'll move on to mayor council comments. Scott?
Is there anybody on Zoom?
Oh, there was nobody on Zoom.
There's nobody on Zoom. I have nothing for tonight.
I have none. I have none. Mr. Anderson?
I don't have any.
Grant?
None tonight, thank you.
Stay hydrated. 30 to 100.
Take a motion to go into closed session, collective bargaining negotiations.
Support.
We'll be going into closed session. We will not come out and make any decisions on what we go into closed session for.
You want to have a roll call first?
Mr. Kramer,
I didn't
Yes.
get a support on that.
I did.
Oh.
I supported it.
He supported you.
I supported you. You made the motion.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Where she didn't catch on to it.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes.
Okay. Ray, are you gonna do the video?
Thanks, Scott, for coming.
Please.
Read it that way. I was like, wow, I just got supported.
You know, I think the hardest not to need to screw it up.